Another topic.
Devora in midah habeis, nושא avoid. Hashem carries our avera. This is the time of Devora. Hareis hagadol me'akodim. This is even a bigger chiddush, bigger thing, a bigger inyan than the idea of Mikel Kamoicha. Sharei lo yaseh ha'adam avoin shlo yivra mashkis, because whenever a person does an avoin, an avera, it's impossible that it shouldn't create a mashkis. Mashkis is a destructive force. Creating a destructive force. K'desnan ha'over avera achas k'nolei kategar echad. Pirkei Avos. Person does an avera, even one avera. K'nolei, you've just gotten yourself, you've just acquired for yourself a kategar echad. V'harei oisa kategar oimed lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'omer ploni asani. And this kategar stands in front of Hashem and says, ploni asani. That, in other words, take it on its most superficial level. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, kategar, what are you doing here? So he says, ploni asani, the fellow who we're judging here, he created me. Ein barrier in bria miskayemes ba'olam hazeh b'shifay shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And there's no such thing as something which exists without HaKadosh Baruch Hu helping it to exist. Harei hamashkis hazeh oimed lefanav. So this destructive force stands before Hashem. Ubamem miskayim. And how does it continue to exist? Hadin noisen, really, Hadin noisen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should say, Sheyomer HaKadosh Baruch Hu eini zan mashkisa. I'm sorry, I don't support destructive forces. Go to He who has created you and let Him be misparnes mimenu. And what should happen is that the destructive force should come and kill the person, or give him koros, or give him the proper oynish. So I explained yesterday, just learning it inside, that in the Pshitos HaDevorah this makes no sense, because if the pshat is, just go back to the basics here, if the pshat is that a person does something wrong, so it's not that, like in the legal system, you do something wrong, you get a penalty, go to jail. If you live in a more Muslim world, you get your head chopped off or something. It's an onesh. It's an onesh. So and what we're saying is something different. It just changes the whole way we have to think about this. Is that it's not a matter of creating a. It's not a matter of an onesh. It's a matter of your kone kategar. You now have something working against you, and the kategar could say, or Hashem could say, I'm sorry, eini zan mashchisim. It's not my job to be mefarnes mashchisim. So okay, so let's just stop here for a second. Bakasha, kill it. Like, what are we being? What's HaKadosh Baruch Hu scaring us about here? Eini zan mashchisim. I'm sorry, I can't sustain destructive forces. So kill the destructive force. Who needs it? No. Kadosh Baruch Hu could say, "Eini zan mashchisim, yelech etzel misha asay v'yisparnes mimenu." You want to be miskayim? Go to your Creator. We learned yesterday that a person is a creator in this regard. Let Him take care of you. Okay, so we're playing ping pong here with the mashchis. You don't want to be mefarneset. I don't want to be mefarneset. Let it go. Like why? What is mahabayap? It's like it's a bit of a pliyat summa. But what could happen is the mashchis would be yarid miyad v'noitel nishmasai or karsai or nenashalav. This mashchis would look for sustenance and go back to the person and thereby kill the person. So I explained yesterday that the only pshat here is that this mashchis, excuse me, this mashchis that we're talking about is not something outside of ourselves, it is ourself. A mashchis, the destructive force, is not a destructive force outside of us. It's a destructive force within us. Killing the mashchis, or sustaining the mashchis, is killing us or sustaining us. If you learn that the mashchis is something bachutz, so then the whole conversation here doesn't make sense. Am I asking you for mashchisim? I need you to keep my mashchisim alive. I don't need it. Nobody hires a prosecutor against himself and then prays to the great judge that he should sustain that prosecutor. I don't want the prosecutor. So kategar in the simple pshat doesn't make a lot of sense unless we understand that the kategar is something within us. And a destructive force within us. Oh, okay, if it's a destructive force within us, so now that's coming in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Killing the kategar is killing us, because we have this kategar within us. Sustaining the kategar is keeping us alive, but why would HaKadosh Baruch Hu sustain a kategar? It conflicts with his purpose in the creation of Olam Hazeh. So we need to move that kategar from out there to in here. Everybody with me on that? Let me just explain a little bit. The Nefesh HaChaim just occurred to me a few minutes ago. In Shar Aleph Parakut Beis says what I think is a chiddush nifla. It shouldn't be a chiddush nifla, but it is a chiddush nifla that I believe. To make a radical introduction to this paragraph, it's a chiddush nifla because we have been so influenced by Christian, and more specifically Catholic society, which you could trace this clearly in during the time of the Bayis Sheni and the Book of Maccabees in the New Testament, where they twisted around the inyan of Olam Haba to being something which you do not really find much source for in Yiddishkeit. So, again, my radical statement is, there used to be a big Gaon in Beit Vegan by the name of Chaim Zimmerman. Anybody ever hear of him? Sure. Chaim Zimmerman. He was a Gaon Adir, very eccentric. He was a Rosh Yeshiva of Skokie, very eccentric, and he gave these shiurim in the Rambam, to which I went to a few of them. He traveled to Beit Vegan and enjoyed being very radical. But I just remember this, that somebody said to him, why doesn't it say Olam Haba in the Torah? An age-old question. Why doesn't it say Olam Haba in the Torah? It seems to be the main thing. So his answer was, because there's no such thing. Okay. All right. Which religion are we in here? No such thing. He was a very Chicago type of guy. No such thing. What does it mean? That we tend to think that we think of Olam Haba, Gehenna, Gan Eden, all those things. We think of them as a sort of a geographical location. Where they are, we're not clear. How you get there, we don't know. But it's this place. One of them is beautiful with a lot of, whatever you think is beautiful. And one of them is full of fire and devils. Says this is Rechaim Volozhin, Zehu inyan schar olam haba, hu maisi yedei ha'adam atzmo. A person creates their olam haba. The olam haba that we have, good, bad, that's not a creation and really an extension of oneself. She'acher predas nafshe me'aguf, hu ha'oila li'zadenu lasbiya nafshe b'tzachtzachos ha'oiros, v'akoichos ha'oilamos ha'kadoshim shin toisvim nisrabim v'maisim ha'toivim. Just skip a little bit. V'cheinu enisha Gehenna. What's Gehenna? And Yonah Gam Kain. It's also the same thing. Hachet atzmai hu oinshay. Hachet atzmai hu oinshay. Ma'ishakasu v'avinoisav is lachdu es harosha v'chavlei chatosei itmach. Now, what is Olam Haba is a big sugya. The Rambam and the Ramban and the Shar Hagmul and the Rav Sadia Gaon, big sugya, a big philosophical sugya. What's stira the Ramchal between the Derech Hashem and the Basil Shar. I don't think that there's any machlokas here about this point. The point is, it's not so much where we're going; it's what we are when we go there. In other words, what are we when it's all over? All over. If we're created for a shlichus. We're created for a shlichus, very much as we'd be hired by a corporation for a shlichus. If we fail in our shlichus, if we violate our shlichus, if we steal from the company, if we do things which are completely against our shlichus, it's not just a question like, okay, we're going to put you in a special room, and lock the door, and there you will suffer without water, without air, and a horrible secretary. That's not what's going on. Your standing in the company changes. You're not only are you not a key employee, but you're not only. In fact, you're lucky if we keep you here all together. But your standing in the company, your trust in the company, your ability to grow in the company, what you are in the company. I'm just giving a mushroom. This is not a company; it's a world. But you're where something that I think we can relate to is your standing is different. It's not that anybody has created this standing that you're in the company, your negative standing in the company, except for you yourself. All you've done by giving out company secrets or sleeping on the job. All you've done is you've created your own little Gehenna over here, and yes, you will be pushed away and probably fired eventually if there's no other way to deal with it. So when we take that mashal into the nimshal of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, before we bring it back into the mashal, the real nimshal, which is Basar V'Dam, what we need to understand is, I think L'Kul Alma, Rambam, Ramban, Rasag, I think everybody will agree that a person at the end of his or her time is a result of what they've done their whole life. It's a whole different idea, as opposed to, as I say, the Christian idea of the pitchforks and you're going to get yours. Chazal did give such examples, such mashalim. But the mashal is how painful it is to realize that you've come into the world and you blew it. How painful it is to realize that you had a chance to mamash like soar with the malachim and shemayim and be close to Hashem, but you're just not the type. You've chosen incorrectly. That's a very painful Gehenna. It's probably worse than the Gehenna that the Christians talk about. And it requires a tikkun. What can happen is, what should happen logically, is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should say for all eternity, you are what you are because you made yourself and you did what you did and you brought this upon yourself. So go figure it out yourself, whatever that means, or stay in this purgatorial state for all of eternity. Eini zon mashchisin. This is not something that I've done. It's something that you've chosen wrong. So let's just one more mushal. Let's just think of it as a Michelangelo sculpture, where there's a perfecting that's going on all the time, and Michelangelo said that he sees the sculpture, the stone, even before he touches it. Now it's just a question of how to get it out, how to bring it out. So the person is meant to do a certain shlichus, meant to be b'tselem Elokim, requires the Solam Hazeh to do this. If you start going crazy with this thing and knock it off noses and hands and feet, it's not like what are we supposed to? What's HaKadosh Baruch Hu supposed to do with this? I mean, it's just. So there's a yanim of Gilgulim, there's a yanim of Tikkun HaNefesh, there's a yanim of Yisurim in this world. There's ways to get back, but let's talk about, at the end of it all, Olam Haba. Olam Haba is, this is what you are. This is what you are, this is what you have chosen to be, and this is what you are. How sad it is. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't operate that way. What he does is he allows the person to grow further, at least while we're alive. Allows the person to do tshuva. Tshuva is an amazing concept. Tshuva is an amazing concept. It's a chiddush nifla that the stone can revitalize. You can come back to your tachlis. You can come back even stronger than you were at the beginning. Somehow or another, this can work. It's an amazing concept. It's not a logical concept as such as that is Jew. Yeah, you messed up. Zehu. Like what are you going to do? It's extremely important. That's what Rabbi Chaim Volozhin says here. What is the onesh of a person? It's not that you do a chet and you get an onesh. Hachet atzmai hu onesh. The chet is the onesh. You with me on this? Hachet atzmai hu onesh. When a person does a violation of the Torah, of the mandate, of the mission statement, hifkim v'hapagam, rather, v'hachorban nirsham chas v'shalom b'sharshay. You have misshaped that which you have been given. I think my mashal of the sculpture is the correct one. He's myrich on this, but it's a chiddush that goes sort of unnoticed because it goes against almost everything that we're afraid of and that we're looking forward.
I'm thinking of it as we're creating road signs within us. If we go in the right, good direction, then it's a good road sign. It's a bad direction, it's a bad road sign.
So you're not talking about result.
No, I'm not.
With you. What are we when we get there? Whatever we made of ourselves.
But
that's the eternal.
But that map is there.
No, the map is there. But we are what we make of ourselves, so that's it. As long as we're in this world. So everybody knows that the Vilna Gaon can, which against the minhag of tzaddikim. Tzaddikim are always happy on the day that they die. So says the Gemara. The tzaddikim smeichim. We two cases that I know, two famous cases in history, where tzaddikim were crying on the day of their visa. One of them was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, was crying. Yapocha, Rabbi Mata Boicha. Not supposed to cry, you're a tzaddik. But he cried because the Vilna Gaon was crying. Two different parts of history. I believe Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was crying because he didn't know if he did a good thing or a bad thing. He gave away Yerushalayim. He gave away the Beis HaMikdash, Tedli Yavde v'Chachabel. He moved all of Israel to Ashdod. Did he do a good thing? He didn't do a good thing. And he had a nevuah that said he did a good thing and he was happy. But the Vilna Gaon said, I'm in this world, like this is what the Vilna Gaon explained. His last teaching was that as long as I'm living in this world, his words, I believe they say, is for a couple kekem and koine zayin olam haba. I could buy a pair of tzitzis for a couple of shekels. I could buy a couple pair of tzitzis, make such an unbelievable ticket out. So that opportunity is gone. I don't know what he needed. I mean, what was he missing on the gun? I'm not sure what he was missing. Not for me to say. I'm sure people do say, but it's not for me to say. But the point is that we're living in an olam hatikun. So it's not about where we're going. It's about what we have become through life and the tikkun that we have achieved. And now, once we understand that, there's a sort of a remarkable chiddush, of tshuva, and what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does with that final piece. Because it is basically what it is. I didn't create this, you created this. What do you want me to do? Yeah.
It sounds like what you're describing is a legacy more than a destination.
It's a legacy, but I don't know what you mean by legacy. Do you mean future generations?
Yeah.
But not even that. Just there's Also true, also true. But that's not what I'm describing. What I'm describing is that there's a sort of a permanent. You know how it works? Like, just take an example. There's Pinning will explain this to us better. But there's tempered steel. So alloyed steel. Do you know how? Remember, 9th grade here. The extent of my education, but if you take a piece of steel, spring steel, let's say, and you want it to have a certain temperament. You want it to be flexible, or you don't want it to be flexible. Like whatever you want it to be. So you can heat the piece of steel up to a certain temperature. It'll have different properties, and then you put it in water and you temper it. That's the way it remains forever. If you like, I know that the sort of the finest kind of steel is blue tempered steel, string steel. So if you're making really fine tools, you don't want them to break. You want them to have flexibility. So blue is the big color. If they turn red, hot, they'll become brittle. If they don't turn blue, they won't be flexible. So you wait till it turns exactly blue. It's a darkest thing, and then you freeze it in that place. That's where it freezes. There's this other Indian of like alloyed steel, like you can dip it not into water to cool it, but you can dip it into oil, and then the oil will freeze it even better into that, or you can add an alloy to the steel. Most menichs is, I'm just saying that dyeing is sort of like, that's it. In other words, you've reached the end of the, these are your grades, this is what you are. But the other thing is, that, and really what's more nogay tells, that's an important Kiddush. I don't know that you'll find a description. Sir Chaim Zimmerman says, why doesn't it say Olam Haba? No such thing. No such thing in the sense, of course there's such a thing, no such thing in the sense that there's no such place, where we're all sort of fluttering around neshamas, and that's not what it is. But, there is a chazar to the olam of the neshamas, which is to be all eternity before and eternity after, with this little university here in this world of a few years, and that's the neshama that you are. Now, I just want to point out, let me just take this a step further, that you don't have to die for all this to happen. Right here, in other words, if we create a pigam, not everything is, not everything grows back. As I put that a couple days ago, a person, God forbid, gets his arm chopped off, your arm doesn't grow back. Like it's not, we're not salamanders. So it's, most things don't grow back. I know there's all kinds of research being done in tissue reconstruction and all kinds of, but bottom line is that most things don't. A person gets a kidney removed, you don't grow another one. Certain things, your nails, your hair, certain things grow back, but it doesn't grow back. So you are what you are, and v'zehu, zasof kol hasipur. Except that in this world, there's a Kadosh Baruch Hu created already in the bria. In other words, your ear can't grow back, but your neshama can. It's a pella. It's a pella that can happen. You have to appreciate that pella. That's a chesed of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, that there's such a thing as tshuva, that we can get back to ourselves, restore, and even restore the statue even to a better place than it was. If we just give me 1 second there, that if we want to understand this deeper, I just wanted to first get rid of the sort of Christian notion of this, which I think is, I believe it causes Yetzer Hara, meaning it causes like a sort of it might have been good for the masses of Amaratzim at some time, but I don't think, it's not emes. If you take this deeper, what it means is, what we need to understand is, how does this mashchis, or this kategor, why is it called a kategor? Why is it called a kategor? Because whenever we do something that, and I explained this yesterday, whenever we do something that violates our mission, our purpose, it makes an indelible negative impression on where we are. I'm talking about while we're alive. If somebody's once at night in his office decides to use the copy machine for your own purposes, so that was easy, and that could be argued that I don't get paid enough anyway, and there's a million ways to do it. But what's happening is that it's not just like you have to verkrumm your whole brain to get around doing something wrong until it becomes okay to do it. Very quickly it becomes okay. That's the kategor that we're talking about. The kategor is the voice within us that says, nothing happens. I can get away with it, I get away with it, I get away with it, until a person, God forbid, becomes a rotzeach. We see people do ritzicha, we see people do the craziest averas. How do you get to these averas? There are very few criminals grow up saying, I want to be a criminal when I grow up. Maybe there's such a thing, I don't know. But most people don't. Most people, it's a very gradual process. You got to work on it. It's a gradual process, and you get away with something until chas v'shalom a person can become a predator, a molester, a ganef, a rotzeach. There's no end to what this could take you. These are sort of elements. These are kategorim. These are pieces within us that we're killing. Snips off the statue and knocks off the statue that shouldn't be there, until we become such a funny-looking neshama, such an odd neshama, and this is what you are. That's a theology of what's going on when a person does an aver. A person does a mitzvah, they're enhancing, they're doing a tikkun, they're doing something very beautiful. It's not there. I'll tell you something, just because this is such a heavy topic. I'll just tell you something that this cartoon that I saw yesterday about, the Muslims believe that if they do a great mitzvah, like kill 1,000 Jews or something, so they go to heaven immediately, and they are zochet to 7 virgins. So I saw this 7, was it 70? 70, enough person.
Have to have something to keep them busy.
I saw this great cartoon about this Muslim coming to heaven, and there was like a whole choir of nuns waiting for him. That's not what I was expecting. It's all shtus, you know what I'm saying? It's all shtus. Of course, the Eden of the neshama is such to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be choser l'sharshay is beautiful. But at the end of the day, as Reb Chaim Volozhin says, that hachet atzmoi hu ein shay. So what HaKadosh Baruch Hu could do is say, this is your problem, and what he does instead is he allows us to do tshuva. More than that, he helps us do tshuva. He creates circumstances for tshuva. He creates hirhurim for tshuva. He built in, if you can absorb this, he built in a self-correcting measure within the neshama itself. There's even if you mess up, there's a self-correcting measure. So you have to really work on it to mess up your neshama. So what do you want to say, Rishon?
Two ideas. One is this idea that the Rav mentioned earlier. There's no such thing as olam haba. Meaning, I think the mistake, to go back to how the Rav prefaced, the mistake I think in the other non-Jewish philosophies is that there's some objective reality called the next world, whatever they want to call it. Okay, and there it is. And if I just endure this world long enough, so then I'll get there. It's a place that I'll eventually get to. It's not an objective reality. It's actually the opposite. It's something which is so subjective that I created. It's so subjective that I created through my
well said. Yeah. You are what you make yourself. It's the ultimate and
the
ultimate bechira chavshus. The ultimate of bechira chavshus is not I could choose to do right, I could do wrong. I could choose what I am.
Yeah. The other mashal that comes to mind when we talk about, for me, olam haba, is that it's a vector. It has motion. It's direct. It's not just a thing. It's a direction. So meaning that in the life of a Jew, no matter where you are right now, there's more opportunities to do tshuva ahead. There's the forward-looking, I can make a choice right now that can create an olam haba for me. Right now. Whatever happened before. But the olam haba is in itself is forward-looking.
And eternal. So, let's bring it down. What we're talking about in our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that Hashem can logically and rightfully say what we would say is that, like, I'm sorry, you make your bed, you have to sleep in it. And your standing for all of eternity is your own doing. That's a kind of a fair, logical, midas hadin type of an idea, but correct idea. Correct idea. Here's my question: would one say that to their son or their daughter? If you would, then do tshuva. You say, look, you're not allowed in my house. You're not allowed to be here. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And this is a choice you made. I mean, it would have to be really, really, really outstandingly bad. In my personal opinion, I don't even know such a situation. It becomes a Nazi or something. I don't know. But I don't think that's that. But on the contrary, what would we do? Let's try to figure out a way to get back in, even if superficially or we pretend to be pushing away. It's always makar b'yamin v'dofa b'smol. So the when we're talking about avinu of harachamon, we're talking about some kind of a different relationship where HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't say Eini zon mashchisim yelech etzel misha asev yisparnas mimenu. What would happen if HaKadosh Baruch Hu would just say, says the Talmud Devora, go fix yourself. There's nothing I can do for you. Go fix yourself. So what would happen is, he says, that you would need some kind of put it in terms that I can understand. You would need some kind of a major tikkun to get back on track for all of eternity. Either the death, like the Rambam says, misa atzmei mechaperes. It would be a misa. Take something like suicide, by the way. It's like the ultimate self-inflicting, irreversible, freezing, tempering of that steel called the neshamas. It's the chet shebo. That would be one option. Or kares. What is kares? Kares is the cutoff. What does cutoff mean? I'm going to separate. You could even live with kares, by the way, according to many cases of kares. I'm just going to, here you have nefesh, ruach, neshama. Kares means I'm just separating you from your neshama. So you become something like a spider. Like, in other words, you're getting very little. You can somehow live. So either we take the whole thing away from you, the neshama, or there's such a thing as kares, onena shalok v'yonsho, or some other type of horrible onesh. What are onesh yisurim in this world? All about getting the stone back together. But that's not HaKadosh Baruch Hu's preferred way. The preferred way is tshuva. And tshuva is not a painful procedure. Tshuva, we hold, is not about rolling in the snow and there's extreme circumstances. The tshuva is, such a beautiful thing. Let me just see if it's still here. That's really important. I wanted to mention Shabbos morning when I was speaking, I forgot. Rav Kook in the Igeres HaTshuva says, HaTshuva hi tefeses es achelik hayoser gadol b'Torah u'b'chaim. The most important thing in the Torah, the most important thing in life is tshuva. Why is that?
That's what it's all about.
Aleha b'nuyos kol hatikvos ha'ishiyos v'hatziburis. All hope is based on tshuva. Meaning the ability to restore the neshama, the ability to get back on track, the ability to grow, the ability to refine the neshama, whether it's the neshama, personal neshama, or as Rav Kook loves to speak about, the neshama of the tzibur. So it could be a communal tshuva, somewhat of a chiddush of Rav Kook, that he took everything from the neshama and said that the tzibur is also a organic body. But this is the sentence that I want to read to you. He mitzvahs Hashem, she mitzad echad kala shebekalos. This is, on one level, the easiest mitzvah that there could possibly be. The whole Torah is based on tshuva, the easy mitzvah. Shaharei, hear tshuva, hukvar tshuva. A moment of reflection, hear her tshuva. A moment of tshuva, hear her tshuva. Everybody is familiar with the Gemara. Al-Manasha di Tzadik Gomer. Harei is a Tzadik Gomer. A person can be a Tzadik Gomer in a second. Umitzad Echad, on the other hand, Harehi Kosher Shebekoshes. It's also the most difficult of all mitzvahs. Shelo Yotza Adayin Al Hapoel, which still hasn't even happened. B'Muloya Ba'olam U'B'Chayim. It's such a fascinating observation that he makes, that tshuva is such a thing that first of all, it's everything. Ma'od yesh, it's all about tshuva. I did an avera, and now I'm fixing the avera, getting rid of it. No, it's all about growth, and it's all about how Hashem helps us to grow. And in a refined moment, in a second, I can become about tshuva. Have we not seen that? Doesn't mean that that's it. You gotta stick with it. But in a second, a person can make the right decision. And I don't have to do that. Shmuel, tell the story you told yesterday. Unless you're I don't.
That's a little personal.
Okay, but in a second, a person can make a turnaround. We find it throughout Chazal, we find it through Tanakh, we find it, we see it all the time. On the one hand. On the other hand, it's a lifetime struggle. So it's the Kalo Shebekalos, and it's the Kosher Shebekoshes. It can be both things, and at the same time, it's everything. So what's the Linyonenu? Because we need to get Linyonenu. Linyonenu is that Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't do those things. He doesn't say you are what you are, and you are what you made of yourself, and this was your decision, and you go do your own tikkun, which would basically be a kares or misa or whatever. Eila Kadosh Baruch Hu oisekein. Hashem doesn't do this. Elo noisei v'soivel ha'avai. He carries the avera, something which should be permanent, a permanent break off. No say v'sovel ha'avam. He waits for tshuva. K'mo shuzan ha'olam kulo. How many? A generation has to be pretty bad until you end up with a mabul or a destruction. It has to be. I'll tell you a feeling, a chiddush feeling, and that is that sometimes you find something which is so destructive, like the mabul, like the chorban bayis rishon, the chorban bayis sheni, etc. Like that doesn't happen from Averis. No, that doesn't happen from Averis, because Averis you do tshuva for, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu would wait, give it another generation, give it another 100 years, it'll be okay. I don't believe that those things happen. They happen when we get so crazy that our whole culture changes to something which is completely wrong. That's hard to do tshuva. Ein mas speaking b'yodei la'asos tshuva. It has to be. We talk about the Chorban Beis Hamikdash was Chorban Bayis Rishon, Gilui Arayis, Shvichas Dam Avodah Zarah. It's not that the pshat. It's not that people did Gilui Arayis, Shvichas Dam Avodah Zarah. I'm sure they did, but it became okay in the culture. It became okay to be a religious Jew and kill somebody every once in a while. What are you going to do? A little Arayis here and there. It's okay. Murder, what's Avodah Zarah, it's part of being in the world. When it creeps into the culture, and the culture says, I'm religious and I'm God-fearing, but this is okay. So when you're talking about those things creeping into the culture, then you have to erase the board. That's where a chorban is. When you talk about the mabul, it says that there was all kinds of averas that were going on at the time of the mabul, like nichris adin al mabul ella mishum chamas, yimalei aretz chamas. Rashi says that people were stealing half prutas. Oh yeah, you got a chap. Pruta, you're chay, whatever. When we become crazy in our heads, the Chorban Beis Hamikdash is sinas chinam. It became somehow okay to do everything that you're supposed to do. I'm very God-fearing. I'm very careful, kashrus, everything, this and that. Sinas chinam. I just hate everybody else. It's not like me. It's a cultural issue. So what comes out? The Gemara describes such ridiculous situations to Kohanim running up to the Beis Hamikdash to bring a carbon to Hashem. One guy kills the other because you got there first. Like it became so It's the word
Entrenched.
entrenched.
Indicative.
Yes. Still not the word I'm thinking of, but yes, it became so part of it, that apparently in Hashem's wisdom, he said there's nothing in Malasot, which is so far off. But B'derech Klal, there's no Mabul. B'derech Klal, there's no Chorban. B'derech Klal is HaKadosh Baruch Hu waiting for us to do tshuva. Now, I just want to cheat ahead before we stop speaking here. And that is that if you take this, we gave a mashal from the human world to explain how it works in the world of Hashem, and the whole reason we need to know how it works in the name is because we're the Tzelem Elokim. We have to work that way back into this world. So it's made full circle, and it's very, just before we say the words inside tomorrow, it's very, if a person violates a relationship with me, don't cross me. I'll be good to you, I'll take care of you, I'll do everything for you, but don't, how could you talk behind my back? It's a real nisayon here. We can understand God's nisayon, but we're not God, are we? So it's a hard nisayon to just not push away a person. I didn't do this. I didn't put you there. You put yourself there. You made a decision to whether we're talking about a friend, a spouse, a child, a business partner, doesn't make any difference. The point is you created a situation for yourself and go take care of it. There's nothing I can do, but this is not the way of Hashem, is it? The way of Hashem is to reach out and to help the person get back to themselves even where it seems impossible. And here's like the very interesting thing. You say, well, why does somebody else do that? Like, why don't you go to your therapist or your rabbi or something and let them do it? The answer is really nobody else can do it except for the person who was violated. So, like, it's a pretty crazy chiyuv that we have, that we're the only ones who can unlock the tshuva in another person. And it's not just about, okay, forget about it, I'm Michael. That's not what it is. We're the only one that can really help a person do it, and it takes tremendous amount of skill to do and to do it effectively and not to make the situation worse. But there's a certain chiyuv that we have, and where would we get such a koach to do it? So it's totally non-secular, totally not the way of the world to do such a thing. The world is, I'm not stupid, don't be a friar, the person is hurting me, just move away from that person. But true, we can't be stupid, but at the same time, there's a godly obligation to reach into the situation and to make some fixes, because we're the only ones who can. And where do we get this koach? This is endemic. That's the word I was looking for, of being b'tzelem Elokim. The tzelem Elokim gives us the tools, the mamash in the nature of a person. It gives us the tools to be able to make this kind of a change and help another person restore their relationship with me. And it's completely you. It's not that I did something wrong. Or a person did something wrong, so fix yourself. But we're talking about it's completely you. But nevertheless, we have this koach. And if we have this koach, this tzelem Elokim koach, we have to do it. Why? Because Hashem does it. So two things happen. One is we know we have that koach. And number two is the more we use that koach, the more Hashem says, I'll do that koach. I'll do that with you. So the circle becomes very, very beautiful for those that can brave the cold over here and go out there and just not say, well, just fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Like, no, I'm not gonna go that derech. I'm gonna keep on moving, keep on going with them. That's where we're going in the second half of days.
What does it mean that Hashem would say that he won't be Zan the Mashlis? The person will create and should be Zan.
It's like what we learned last night. It's like what we learned last night. Raise up Hashem's honor.
It's your choice. You're Bechira. I gave you Bechira.
Exactly. That's it. It was created.
Yeah.
Hashem to live without Hashem forever.
And that's
it.
It doesn't have to help the person back.
So what does it mean that the person is being refined? Is the Mashlis that they created?
It means that you get more and more crooked in your thinking, and more cognitive dissonance.